The auction hall buzzed with the excited chatter of alien buyers, their various appendages gesturing toward the magnificent creatures on display. Crystalline beings from Nexus Prime examined sleek racing stallions with analytical precision, while the hulking Kromnari inspected massive draft beasts that could pull their heavy mining equipment across hostile terrain. Maya Chen stood in the back corner, her human frame dwarfed by the towering aliens around her. At 19, she had saved every credit from her job at the orbital maintenance facility to attend this prestigious auction on Kepler Station. The other bidders barely noticed her presence, dismissing humans as a minor species with limited understanding of proper animal husbandry. The auctioneer, a tall Velteran with silver skin that shimmered under the bright lights, called out lot numbers with practiced efficiency. Each creature that crossed the stage commanded impressive prices. A Terran thoroughbred went for 50,000 credits to a wealthy Nexus merchant. A pair of Altarian racing lizards fetched even more from competing Kromnari clans. Then the atmosphere changed. The murmurs died down as stable hands led a limping figure onto the platform. The warhorse stood barely 14 hands high, his once proud head hanging low with exhaustion. His coat, which should have gleamed like polished copper, was dull and patchy from poor care. Scars crisscrossed his legs and flanks, telling stories of battles fought in distant star systems. His right front leg bore the telltale signs of an old injury that had never healed properly, causing the noticeable limp that made him nearly worthless as a military mount. Lot 73. The auctioneer announced with barely concealed disdain. Terran Warhorse. Designation Thunder. Aged 12 standard years. Previously served with the human colonial defense forces in the Rigel campaigns. Note the obvious lameness and general poor condition. The alien buyers turned away, their interest evaporating instantly. War horses were valuable only for their speed, endurance, and ability to carry armored riders into combat. A lame horse was nothing more than an expensive burden. Maya found herself moving forward, pushing through the crowd of disinterested aliens. Something about the horse drew her attention beyond the obvious damage. When Thunder lifted his head slightly, she caught a glimpse of intelligence in his dark eyes that sent a shiver down her spine. This was not a broken animal. This was a warrior who had simply been abandoned by those who should have cared for him. Opening bid is 500 credits. The auctioneer called out, his tone suggesting that even this modest amount was probably too generous. Do I hear 500? Silence filled the hall. Several aliens actually laughed at the idea of bidding on such damaged goods. 400 credits? The auctioneer tried again, his embarrassment growing. 300? Maya raised her hand. 500 credits, she called out clearly. The auctioneer looked surprised to receive any bid at all, while the nearby aliens turned to stare at the young human with obvious confusion. A few made clicking sounds that Maya recognized as their version of amused laughter. We have 500 credits from the human, the auctioneer announced. Do I hear 600? Nobody else raised a hand or appendage. The crystalline beings whispered among themselves in their tinkling language, clearly discussing the foolish human who would waste credits on a useless animal. Going once at 500 credits, the auctioneer continued. Going twice. He paused, scanning the crowd one final time for any other bids. Sold to the human for 500 credits. As Maya made her way toward the payment station, she heard the comments from other bidders. The Nexus Prime delegates discussed her purchase with the clinical detachment of scientists observing an interesting specimen. Fascinating, one of them transmitted through their shared consciousness. The human emotional attachment to damaged creatures appears to override practical considerations. A group of Kromnari were less diplomatic. Stupid human throws away money on broken horse, their leader rumbled in heavily accented standard. We'll make good food when it dies. Maya ignored their words, focusing instead on completing the transaction. The payment station clerk, another Velteran, processed her credits with obvious confusion. Are you certain about this purchase? He asked, mandibles clicking nervously. The animal requires immediate veterinary attention that will cost far more than your winning bid. Most logical beings would consider this a poor investment. I'm certain, Maya replied firmly, signing the ownership documents with her biosignature. Within an hour, she found herself in the station's cargo bay, standing before Thunder's transport container. The warhorse lay on his side, breathing heavily from the stress of the auction. When Maya approached, he struggled to stand, his injured leg trembling with the effort. "Easy there, big guy," Maya whispered, keeping her voice soft and calm. "I'm not going to hurt you." Thunder regarded her with cautious eyes, his ears flicking back and forth as he assessed this new human. Maya slowly extended her hand, allowing him to catch her scent. After a long moment, he stretched his neck forward and touched his muzzle to her palm. The contact sent an electric thrill through Maya's entire body. She had heard stories from old cavalry veterans about the bond between human and horse, but she had never experienced it herself. In that moment, she felt something awaken inside Thunder's spirit. A spark of hope that had been buried under months of neglect and pain. Dr. Voss, the station's veterinarian, arrived 20 minutes later. The elderly Terran took one look at Thunder and shook his head grimly. "Maya, what have you done?" he asked, running his hands expertly over the horse's legs and body. "This animal is in terrible condition. Look at these scars. This malnutrition. The obvious joint damage. The previous owners should be prosecuted for animal cruelty. Can you help him?" Maya asked, her heart sinking as she watched Dr. Voss's examination. The veterinarian was quiet for several minutes, his experienced hands probing Thunder's injured leg with gentle precision. Finally, he straightened up with a thoughtful expression. "The physical damage is extensive," he admitted. "Multiple fractures that healed incorrectly, severe muscle atrophy, possible nerve damage. But," he paused, looking directly into Thunder's eyes, "there's something else here. This horse has an incredible will to survive. I've seen animals in better physical condition give up completely, while others, like this one, refuse to quit despite everything working against them." Dr. Voss outlined a treatment plan that would take months to complete and cost more than Maya earned in half a year. Physical therapy, specialized nutrition, possible surgery to correct the worst of the bone damage. Even then, Thunder would never be the warhorse he once was. "I understand if you want to reconsider," Dr. Voss said gently. "There are other horses available, younger ones without these complications." Maya looked at Thunder, who was watching their conversation with obvious intelligence. She thought about the dismissive comments from the alien bidders, their assumption that humans were too emotional and impractical to make rational decisions. "We're going to prove them all wrong, aren't we?" she whispered to Thunder. The warhorse nickered softly, as if he understood exactly what she meant. That night, Maya slept on a cot in Thunder's stall, unwilling to leave him alone in his first days of recovery. Every few hours, she would wake to check on him, adjusting his blankets and offering small portions of the high-nutrition feed that Dr. Voss had prescribed. Thunder seemed equally reluctant to let her out of his sight. When she moved around the stall, his head would turn to track her movements. When she finally lay down to rest, he would position himself as close as possible, his steady breathing providing a comforting rhythm in the quiet cargo bay. The next morning brought their first real challenge. Maya had arranged for transport to her home colony on Kepler 442b, but the shipping company balked when they saw Thunder's condition. "That animal is not fit for space travel," the cargo supervisor declared. "Look at him. He can barely stand. If he dies in transit, we're liable for the cleanup costs." Maya spent 2 hours negotiating, finally convincing them to accept Thunder as cargo, only after she agreed to personally accompany him and sign waivers, absolving them of any responsibility. The 3-day journey to Kepler 442b tested both Maya and Thunder's determination. The artificial gravity fluctuations during jump transitions were hard on healthy animals, but for Thunder, they were agonizing. Maya stayed with him around the clock, providing what comfort she could as his damaged body struggled to adapt to the changing conditions. By the time they reached Kepler 442b, word of Maya's unusual purchase had spread through the human colony's communication networks. Her father, James Chen, waited at the spaceport with a worried expression and a borrowed livestock trailer. "Maya, honey, what exactly have you gotten yourself into?" he asked, watching as Thunder was carefully unloaded from the cargo ship. "Something important, Dad," Maya replied, steadying Thunder as he took his first steps on solid ground in days. I can feel it. The drive to the Chen family's small farm outside New Beijing took an hour through the colony's carefully maintained agricultural zones. Thunder spent the journey looking out through the trailer's windows, his ears pricked forward with interest as he observed the alien landscape that would become his new home. Maya had prepared a stall in their old barn, cleaned and fitted with the specialized equipment Dr. Voss had recommended. As she led Thunder inside, she noticed something that filled her with hope. For the first time since she had bought him, Thunder was holding his head high. 3 months after Thunder arrived at the Chen family farm, Maya's daily routine had transformed completely. Every morning before dawn, she would make her way to the barn where Thunder waited for her with eager anticipation. The transformation in the warhorse was already remarkable, though most visitors still saw only a scarred and limping animal. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the colony's leading veterinarian, made weekly visits to monitor Thunder's progress. Unlike the dismissive attitude Maya had encountered at the auction, Dr. Martinez approached Thunder's rehabilitation with scientific curiosity and growing respect. His muscle development is extraordinary, Dr. Martinez explained during one of her examinations, running her hands along Thunder's shoulders and hindquarters. Most horses with this level of initial atrophy would have given up by now, but look at these muscle groups. He's actually building strength faster than my computer models predicted. Maya beamed with pride as she watched Thunder stand perfectly still for the examination. Gone was the defeated animal from the auction. This horse radiated quiet confidence and determination. His copper coat now gleamed with health, and while the scars remained, they no longer looked like marks of defeat, but rather like badges of honor. The breakthrough came during Thunder's 4th month of recovery. Maya had been working with him on basic ground exercises, helping him rebuild the strength and coordination that years of military service and subsequent neglect had damaged. She had set up a simple obstacle course in the pasture, nothing more challenging than poles on the ground and low barriers. Thunder approached the first pole with his characteristic careful gait, favoring his injured leg as he had since the auction. But something changed as he stepped over the obstacle. Maya saw his ears prick forward, his stride become more confident. By the 3rd pole, he was moving with a fluidity that she had never seen before. That's it. Thunder, Maya encouraged softly. Remember who you used to be. As if her words triggered something deep in his memory, Thunder suddenly broke into a smooth trot. Not the painful, labored movement that Dr. Martinez had warned might be the best he could achieve, but the powerful, ground-covering stride of a cavalry mount. Maya gasped as Thunder navigated the entire course without a single awkward step. His injured leg still showed signs of the old damage, but somehow he had learned to compensate so perfectly that it no longer hindered his movement. Word of Thunder's recovery spread quickly through the colony's tight-knit community. The transformation attracted attention from unexpected quarters, including representatives from the Galactic Equestrian Federation, who were visiting Kepler 442b to evaluate potential venues for interspecies competitions. Ambassador Xylock, a tall insectoid being from the Mantis Collective, arrived at the Chen farm with a delegation of sporting officials. Maya watched nervously as the aliens examined Thunder with the same analytical attention she had witnessed at the auction. Interesting specimen, Ambassador Xylock clicked, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the afternoon sunlight. Previous military service. Obvious injuries. Yet the movement patterns suggest significant athletic potential. However, the lameness disqualifies him from most competition categories. Maya felt her anger rising at the casual dismissal. He's not lame anymore, she said firmly. Watch him move. She led Thunder through a series of exercises that showcased his newfound abilities. The warhorse seemed to understand that this was an important moment, performing with a precision and grace that took even Maya's breath away. The alien officials exchanged rapid communications in their clicking language before Ambassador Xylock turned back to Maya. Impressive recovery, he admitted. But improvement from critically injured to merely functional is not the same as achieving true athletic excellence. No disrespect to your efforts, but this animal lacks the breeding and training necessary for serious competition. After the delegation left, Maya found herself alone with Thunder in the pasture. The warhorse nuzzled her shoulder gently, as if sensing her frustration. "They're wrong about you," Maya whispered, stroking his neck. "I know they are. But how do we prove it?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Maya's younger brother David, home from university for the summer, had been following the colony's preparation for the upcoming Frontier Games, a multi-species athletic competition designed to foster cooperation between human colonies and their alien neighbors. "Maya, you need to see this," David called out, rushing into the barn with his tablet. "They've just announced a new event for this year's Frontier Games. It's called the Heritage Challenge." Maya read the announcement with growing excitement. The Heritage Challenge was designed to celebrate the historical partnership between humans and their domesticated animals. Competitors would navigate a complex course that tested not just speed and agility, but the communication and trust between human and mount. "The interesting part is right here," David continued, pointing to a specific paragraph. "They're specifically welcoming entries from rescue animals and unconventional partnerships. It says they want to honor the spirit of transformation and second chances." Maya felt her heart racing as she read the details. The competition would take place in 6 months, giving her time to prepare Thunder for challenges that would test every aspect of their partnership. But first, she needed to convince the Galactic Equestrian Federation that Thunder was ready for serious competition. The entry requirements included a qualifying demonstration before a panel of judges who would evaluate both the physical capabilities and the psychological readiness of each partnership. Maya threw herself into Thunder's training with renewed intensity. She studied historical cavalry techniques, consulted with former military trainers via long-distance communication, and developed exercises specifically designed to showcase Thunder's unique abilities. The warhorse responded to the increased training with enthusiasm that amazed everyone who observed their sessions. Dr. Martinez documented his progress with detailed measurements and video recordings. "Maya, you need to understand how extraordinary this is," Dr. Martinez explained during one of their sessions. "Thunder's bone density has actually increased since you began intensive training. His cardiovascular efficiency is now superior to horses half his age. From a purely medical standpoint, what you've accomplished shouldn't be possible." Maya knew the secret wasn't medical or scientific. It was the bond that had formed between her and Thunder. A connection that seemed to transcend the normal relationship between human and animal. When she was with Thunder, she could sense his thoughts and emotions almost as clearly as her own. In return, Thunder responded to her intentions before she even voiced commands. The qualifying demonstration was scheduled for a crisp morning in early autumn. Maya arrived at the colony's main athletic complex to find a crowd of curious spectators, including many of the alien officials who had previously dismissed Thunder's potential. Ambassador Zylock presided over the evaluation panel, flanked by judges from 6 different species. Their equipment recorded every aspect of Thunder's movement, analyzing his gait, measuring his speed, and evaluating the precision of his responses to Maya's guidance. "Begin when ready," Ambassador Zylock announced, his tone suggesting this was merely a formality before the inevitable rejection. Maya mounted Thunder, feeling the familiar surge of connection as she settled into the saddle. The warhorse stood perfectly still for a moment, ears forward, every muscle coiled with controlled energy. Then they began. Thunder moved through the evaluation course like water flowing downhill. Smooth and inevitable. Every obstacle was approached with perfect timing. Every turn executed with mathematical precision. Maya barely needed to guide him. Thunder seemed to anticipate each challenge and respond before she could even form the thought. The alien judges watched in stunned silence as Thunder demonstrated abilities that their measurement equipment couldn't fully quantify. His injured leg, which should have been a permanent limitation, showed no signs of weakness or hesitation. When they completed the course, Thunder stood breathing easily, his head high and alert. Maya could feel his pride radiating through their connection, along with something else. Anticipation. Thunder was ready for whatever came next. Ambassador Zylock conferred with his fellow judges for several minutes before approaching Maya and Thunder. "Most unexpected," he admitted, his clicking speech pattern indicating serious consideration. "Your partnership demonstrates qualities that our evaluation criteria did not anticipate. You are provisionally accepted for the Heritage Challenge." As the alien delegation departed, Maya remained in the arena with Thunder, processing what had just happened. They had cleared the first hurdle, but she knew the real test was still to come. The Heritage Challenge would bring together the most skilled partnerships from across known space. Human and horse teams that had trained for decades, alien riders mounted on creatures bred specifically for competition. Thunder would be competing against opponents who had never experienced injury, never known defeat, never been dismissed as worthless. "Are you ready for this?" Maya asked Thunder softly. The warhorse turned his head to look directly into her eyes, and Maya saw something there that made her smile. Not just readiness, but eagerness. Thunder wasn't just prepared to compete. He was hungry to prove what they could accomplish together. That night, Maya lay awake planning their training for the months ahead. The Heritage Challenge would test them in ways they had never experienced, but she felt no doubt about their ability to succeed. Thunder had already proven that transformation was possible. Now it was time to show the galaxy exactly how far that transformation could reach. The Heritage Challenge arena on Olympus Station buzzed with energy from thousands of spectators representing dozens of species from across the galaxy. Maya had never seen such an impressive gathering, with crystalline beings from Nexus Prime creating prismatic light displays in the stands while hulking Krumnari stomped their approval for favored competitors. 6 months of intensive training had transformed both Maya and Thunder into a partnership that exceeded even Dr. Martinez's optimistic projections. Thunder's physical condition now surpassed that of many horses half his age, while Maya had developed an intuitive understanding of competition strategy that impressed even veteran trainers. "Remember, the Heritage Challenge isn't just about speed or agility," explained Coach Reynolds, the former Earth cavalry officer who had agreed to help with their final preparations. "They're testing the depth of communication between species, the ability to overcome obstacles through trust and cooperation." Maya nodded, checking Thunder's equipment one final time. The warhorse stood calmly beside her, but she could feel his contained excitement through their connection. His copper coat gleamed under the arena lights, and his dark eyes held the confident intelligence that had first captured her attention at that distant auction. The competition format was more complex than anything they had previously encountered. Teams would face 5 distinct challenges spread throughout the arena, each designed to test different aspects of their partnership. Points would be awarded not just for speed and accuracy, but for the elegance of communication between human and mount. Ambassador Xylock approached their staging area, his insectoid features unreadable as always. Over the months since Thunder's qualification, the Mantis Collective representative had become something approaching a friend, though he maintained his clinical detachment when evaluating their progress. "Fascinating development in the competition field," he clicked, gesturing toward the arena with one of his forearms. "Several veteran partnerships have withdrawn, claiming the course is too challenging even for experienced teams. The Altarian champions, in particular, suggested that this year's design favors unconventional approaches over traditional technique." Maya studied the arena layout, noting the complex obstacles that would require split-second timing and perfect trust. Narrow beam crossings over water hazards, vertical walls that could only be scaled through precise coordination, and a maze section where visual contact between rider and mount would be deliberately obscured. "They're testing whether partnerships can maintain their connection under stress," Maya murmured, understanding the challenge designer's intentions. "It's not about individual skill. It's about becoming something greater than the sum of your parts." Thunder nickered softly, pressing his muzzle against her shoulder. Maya smiled, feeling his confidence merge with her own determination. The competition began with the defending champions, a Nexus Prime crystalline being paired with a genetically perfect racing stallion from their homeworld. Their performance was technically flawless, each obstacle conquered with mathematical precision and impressive speed. "Time of 7 minutes, 43 seconds, the announcer declared, as the crystalline rider dismounted. No penalties assessed. A strong opening performance from the defending champions. Team after team took their turns, each demonstrating the pinnacle of their species' approach to human-animal partnerships. The Krumnari fielded massive riders on equally massive draft beasts, powering through obstacles with brute force and unwavering determination. Smaller species relied on speed and agility, their mounts dancing through challenges with ballet-like grace. Maya watched each performance carefully, noting the different strategies and identifying the subtle communication methods each team employed. Some used technological aids, translating neural impulses into commands their mounts could understand. Others relied on traditional training techniques perfected over thousands of years. Entry 37, the announcer called. Human Maya Chen riding Thunder, representing the Kepler 442b colony. As they entered the arena, Maya heard the murmur from the crowd. She caught fragments of commentary in various languages, most expressing curiosity about the human girl and her scarred warhorse. The betting displays showed their odds as among the longest in the field. Thunder seemed to feed off the attention, his stride becoming even more confident as they approached the starting line. Maya settled into the saddle, feeling their connection deepen, as it always did in moments of intense focus. "Competitors ready?" the starter asked. Maya nodded, placing her hand on Thunder's neck. She felt his heartbeat synchronize with her own, their breathing falling into perfect rhythm. The starting signal echoed through the arena, and Thunder exploded into motion with a power that surprised even Maya. They approached the first obstacle, a series of narrow platforms over a water hazard, with calculated precision. Thunder's hooves found each platform exactly where Maya had visualized them. His movements flowing like liquid mercury, they cleared the water section in half the time most teams required, gaining precious seconds that would matter in the final calculations. The second challenge tested vertical climbing ability. A steep ramp led to a platform 15 feet above the arena floor, accessible only through a narrow opening that required perfect timing to navigate safely. Maya felt Thunder gather himself beneath her, his powerful hindquarters coiling like springs. They hit the ramp at exactly the right angle, Thunder's injured leg showing no sign of weakness as he powered upward. At the top, they faced a moment of truth. The platform was smaller than it appeared from below, with barely enough room for Thunder to land safely. Maya leaned forward, communicating her trust through body language rather than words. Thunder landed with the grace of a cat, immediately pivoting to face the descent on the opposite side. They were ahead of the defending champion's time, but the most difficult challenges still lay ahead. The maze section was where most teams lost their advantage. Riders entered on one side while their mounts navigated a separate path, forced to maintain communication without visual contact. Teams that relied heavily on visual cues often struggled here, their partnerships breaking down under the stress of separation. Maya dismounted at the maze entrance, looking into Thunder's eyes one final time before they were separated. "Remember, we're still connected," she whispered. "I'll always find you." Thunder touched his muzzle to her forehead, a gesture of trust that brought tears to Maya's eyes. Then the barriers rose, and they were on their own. Maya moved through her section of the maze, following the designated path while sending mental images to Thunder of where she believed he should go. The connection that had developed between them over months of training became their lifeline in the confusing network of passages. She could sense Thunder's location even without seeing him, feeling his confidence as he navigated obstacles based on her guidance. When she reached decision points in her own path, Thunder's emotional feedback helped her choose the correct direction. They emerged from the maze simultaneously, their timing so perfect that the crowd erupted in surprised applause. Even the alien judges seemed impressed by the demonstration of interspecies communication. The fourth challenge was pure speed, a straight sprint across the arena floor. This was where Thunder's warhorse heritage truly showed, his long stride eating up the distance with mechanical efficiency. Maya lay low over his neck, feeling the wind whip through her hair as Thunder's hooves thundered against the arena surface. They flew past the timing markers, setting a pace that few competitors had matched. But the final obstacle was designed to test everything they had learned together. A complex combination that required precision, trust, speed, and perfect communication, all at the same time. A series of narrow beams led to a platform where Maya would dismount, cross a rope bridge alone, and then call Thunder to jump a gap that could only be cleared if he trusted her judgment completely. They approached the beam section with total focus, Thunder placing each hoof with the precision of a surgeon. Maya felt her own balance merge with his as they navigated the narrow pathway, becoming a single entity moving through space. At the platform, Maya dismounted and sprinted across the rope bridge while Thunder waited below. The gap he needed to jump was at the absolute limit of what any horse could achieve. But success depended entirely on Maya's ability to guide his takeoff point. Standing on the far platform, Maya called to Thunder using the special whistle they had developed during training. She could see him calculating the jump, his intelligent eyes measuring the distance and evaluating the risk. For a moment that seemed to last forever, Thunder hesitated. The gap was enormous, the consequences of failure potentially devastating. Maya felt doubt creep into their connection. The first time Thunder had ever questioned their partnership. Then she remembered the auction, the broken horse that everyone had dismissed as worthless. She remembered the months of patient rehabilitation, the gradual building of trust and strength. She remembered every moment that had brought them to this arena. Thunder, she called softly, pouring all of her love and confidence into his name. Come home. Thunder's ears snapped forward. His doubt evaporated, replaced by absolute determination. He backed up 3 steps, coiled his powerful muscles, and launched himself across the gap with a leap that defied physics. Time slowed as Thunder sailed through the air, his legs tucked perfectly beneath him, his head extended toward Maya's outstretched hand. The crowd held its collective breath as the scarred warhorse hung suspended above the arena floor. He landed with room to spare, immediately trotting to Maya's side, as if the impossible jump had been nothing more than a morning exercise. Maya threw her arms around his neck, feeling tears of joy streaming down her face. The arena erupted in chaos as the final time was announced. Not only had they won, but they had shattered the previous record by over 30 seconds. The performance had been so dominant that several alien judges requested immediate reviews to verify the accuracy of their measurements. Ambassador Xylock approached them as Maya led Thunder through their victory lap, his usual clinical demeanor replaced by something approaching wonder, most unprecedented. He clicked, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the arena lights. Your partnership demonstrates capabilities that our understanding of interspecies communication cannot currently explain. You have exceeded every predictive model. As they stood on the winner's platform, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. A broken warhorse dismissed by an entire galaxy had proven that transformation was not just possible, but inevitable, when courage met compassion. The crystalline beings from Nexus Prime, who had laughed at her purchase months ago, now studied Thunder with respectful fascination. The Kromnari warriors, who had suggested he would make good food, offered formal salutes of recognition. But the moment Maya treasured most came when the arena screens displayed a message from Dr. Martinez back on Kepler 44. 2b. Congratulations to the partnership that proved love and determination can overcome any limitation. Thunder stood proudly beside her, his head held high and his eyes bright with intelligence. The scars were still there, marking him as a survivor rather than a victim. The slight irregularity in his gait remained, a reminder of battles fought and hardships endured. But everything else about him radiated strength, confidence, and the unshakable bond he shared with the human who had seen his potential when no one else would look. As they left the arena, Maya whispered the words that had started their journey together. We proved them all wrong, didn't we? Thunder's soft nicker of agreement carried across the station, a sound that would echo in the memory of every being who had witnessed their triumph.